Hello students, so today we will be starting with a new topic. The new topic name is Interior of the Earth. This chapter is present in the Physical Geography book of class 11 and today we will be discussing the interior of the Earth. Let us begin. So what do you mean by the direct and indirect sources of the Earth? You see, the configuration of the surface of the Earth is largely a product of the processes operating in the interior of the Earth. Exogenic as well as endogenic processes are constantly shaping the landscape. A proper understanding of the physiographic character of a region remains incomplete if the effects of endogenic processes are ignored. Human life is largely influenced by the physiography of the region. Now, if I talk about the configuration, about the system of the Earth, these are all being affected by the exogenic and endogenic forces. Now, exogenic forces are related to the air elements. On the other hand, if I talk about the endogenic forces are related to the tectonic activities or which are related to the Earth. Now, if I talk about the endogenic activities are related to the weathering of the rocks, you can say, or also on the other hand, in some of the courses, the creation of the land, the creation of the mountains, the creation of the lakes, the rivers, the formation of mountains, these are all related to the endogenic forces. Now, if I talk about the exogenic forces, the rain comes, the natural calamities comes. These are all related to the exogenic forces. Exogenic forces are related to the outside forces, where endogenic forces are related to the inside forces. So, with the help of the exogenic and endogenic forces only, this happened, the Earth is being created. You can say the system of the Earth is being all affected by the endogenic and exogenic forces. Also, on the other hand, you see the physiography of the Earth. Now, if I talk about the physiography of the Earth, the landscape comes, the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, the land, everything comes under the physiographic characteristics of our planet Earth. So, these are all being affected by what? With the help of exogenic and endogenic forces, but the main thing comes the endogenic processes. The endogenic processes comes under the system. With the help of the endogenic processes only, there is the changes in the physiography of our planet Earth. Now, the most easily available solid earth material is surface rock, or the rocks we get from the mining areas. Gold mines in South Africa are at deep as 3 to 4 kilometers. Now, if I talk about the solid earth materials, now we are understanding about the direct sources of the earth. Now, let us talk about the solid materials. The solid materials, gold is there, silver is there, any kind of materials that we get through mining are the direct sources of the earth. These are termed to be as the direct sources of the earth. In fact, the magma which comes from the volcanic eruption, these are also examples of the direct sources of the earth. Now, in South Africa, if I talk about South Africa, in South Africa there was a mining activity, which means the mines are nearly 3 to 4 kilometers. The depth is nearly 3 to 4 kilometers. And scientists all over the world are working on two major projects. Very, very important. Now, scientists are working on two major projects. All over the world, scientists are working on two major projects. Now, what are the main projects? Deep ocean drilling project. First comes the deep ocean drilling project, and second comes the integrated ocean drilling project. First, deep ocean drilling project and integrated ocean drilling project. This all comes under the direct sources of the planet Earth. To understand the direct sources, to understand the material that are inside the surface of the Earth, so these two projects were being inaugurated. Also, on the other hand, the deepest drill at Kola in Arctic Ocean has so far reached at the depth of 12 kilometers. Now, the deepest drill, there was a deepest drill in Kola. The deepest drill in Kola, which is near the Arctic Ocean. The Kola is near the Arctic Ocean. To find out the direct sources, to get the evidence of the direct sources, the depth is nearly of 12 kilometers. So these are some of the examples of the direct sources. Now, volcanic eruption forms another source of obtaining direct source information. As and when the molten material is thrown out on the surface of the earth, it becomes available for laboratory analysis. Now, here comes the volcanic eruption, which is related to magma. When magma is thrown during the volcanic eruption on the surface of the earth, this is directly being given for the laboratory analysis, so that to find out some of the sources regarding the earth. I hope so this is clear. Now we will be understanding about the indirect sources. Now here you see another source of information are the meteors that at times reach the earth. However, it may be noted that the material that becomes available for laboratory analysis of the meteors are not from the interior of the earth. They are solid bodies developed out of the material same as or similar to that of the earth. Now another information of the indirect sources of the earth is the meteors. You have heard about the material shoots. Yes, the material shoots are there. When the materials of the material fall on the surface of the earth, these are all related to the indirect sources. When there are some of the stones regarded to the materials are found by the scientists itself, these are being given for the laboratory analysis to find about the indirect sources of the planet Earth. Though they are related to some parts of the Earth, but still they are known to be as the indirect sources of our planet Earth. Also, on the other hand, the other indirect sources. Now we will be understanding the other examples of the indirect sources. That comes the gravitation, the magnetic field, and the seismic activity. First comes the gravitation. Now, if I talk about the gravitation is an example of the indirect sources. Also comes the magnetic field. The magnetic field is also related to the gravitation. So this also comes under the indirect sources of our planet Earth. And here comes the seismic activity. The seismic activity is related to the earthquake. Now here you see the gravitational force is greater near the poles and less at the equator. The gravity values differ according to the mass of the material and difference in the latitude. First, we will be understanding about the gravity. You see, the North Pole and the South Pole is there. Near the poles, the gravity is much more higher in comparison to the equator. And if I talk about the efficiency of the gravity, which means the source of the gravity, most probably the source of the gravity or the intensity of the gravity is much higher near the poles in comparison to the equator, which means the gravity, the source of the gravity, the intensity of the gravity differs according to the latitude. It differs according to the latitude, also it differs according to the mass of the material, first of all. And second of all, the reading of the gravity is influenced by many sources. Factors. These readings differ from the expected value. Such a difference known as the gravity anomaly. Now, if I talk here about the gravity anomaly, now what do you mean by the gravity anomaly? First of all, gravity is being influenced by many factors. It is being influenced by many factors, such of all, and second of all, some of the gravity has expected value. In much of the differences, gravity has some of the different expected value. So this is known as gravity anomaly, which means difference in the gravity value is known as the gravity anomaly. Also, on the other hand, gravity anomalies give us information about the distribution of the mass of the material in the crust of the earth. Now, what is the significance of gravity anomalies? First of all, it gives us the information about the different sources on our planet earth from where the mass materials is actually being sourced out. What are the distribution of the mass material on the planet Earth? This actually is being related to the gravity anomaly. Now, why do we discover the gravity anomaly? What is the use of the gravity anomaly? So that we can find out the distribution of the mass materials on our planet Earth. Here you see magnetic surveys also provide information about the distribution of the magnetic material in the crustal portion and thus provide information about the distribution of material. Seismic activity is one of the important sources of information about the interior of the earth. Now, magnetic surveys are there. You see, with the help of magnetic surveys, we come to know about the different natural calamity, first of all, or the occurrence of the natural calamity, and second of all, with the help of the seismic activity, we can understand the coming of the tsunami, the coming of the earthquake. So with this information also, scientists come to know that what is actually the system of the earth and what will be happening, what will be the future predicament will be happening. So with the help of the seismic activity, we try to find out the future prediction, that what kind of natural calamity may come in near future. Also, on the other hand, it also signifies the distribution of the magnetic materials on our planet Earth. It actually signifies the distribution of the magnetic material on our planet Earth. What we are talking about the magnetic surveys we are talking about, and about the seismic activity we are talking about, which is related to the mass distribution of the materials on our planet Earth. I hope so you are clear about the direct sources and the indirect sources. Now we will be understanding about the earthquake and the earthquake waves. Now you see, the study of seismic waves provide a complete picture of the layered interior. An earthquake, in simple words, is the shaking of the earth. It is a natural event. Now, if I talk about the study of the seismic waves, the study of the seismic waves gives us the complete layer of the interior of the earth. How our interior of the earth looks like. With the help of the seismic activity only, we come to know about the interior of the earth. And second of all, we know that when the earthquake will be occurring. You see, earthquake is simply means the natural event, which means it is the shaking of the earth. Now, the release of energy occurs along a fault. A fault is a sharp break in the crystal rocks. Rocks along a fault tend to move in the opposite direction as the overlying strata press them. The friction locks them together. However, their tendency to move apart at some point overcomes the friction. Now, if I talk about fault, now what do you mean by the meaning fault? You see, if there are small cracks, if there are small cracks on the crystal rocks, they are known to be as the fault. From the fault only, the coming of the earthquake actually occurs, which means it actually locks the friction. When there is a fault, there will be the shaking from the opposite direction. There will be shaking from the opposite direction because this fault actually locks the friction. First of all, and second of all, however, their tendency to move apart at some point overcomes the friction. As a result, the blocks get deformed and eventually slide one after another. Now, when there is a fault, from the fault, there the friction comes. The friction is being locked. But if there is the shaking of the earth, as a result, what had happens due to the fault only? The land will be sliding one after the another. It will be sliding one after the another. That time only the earthquake actually occurs, which means it will be shaking abruptly due to the fault itself. Now you see, their tendency to move apart at some point overcomes the friction. If there is the sliding of the rock, if there is the moving of the rock, it will be actually overcoming the friction. It will be overcoming the friction, which means the friction will not be balanced. As a result, the block gets deformed and eventually the slide one another abruptly. This causes the release of energy and the energy waves travel in all directions. Actually, you see, with the help of the fault only, there is the release of the energy. When the friction is not being overcome due to the shaking of the rock abruptly one after the another, this release of the energy actually causes the earthquake. This release of the energy causes the earthquake, and those energy waves travel in all direction. You see here, the fault will be coming and slowly it will be spreading in all direction. So this is also known as the seismic activity. Also, the point where the energy is released is called the focus of an earthquake. It is also called hypocenter. Now, the point from where the energy is being released, it is known as the focus. The focus is also known as the hypocenter of the earth. I will not say earth, also known as the hypocenter, which means from where the earthquake is occurred. This is known as the focus, also known as the hypocenter. This is very much important in exams. It comes, what do you mean by the hypocenter? You see, the focus from where the energy is being released is known as the hypocenter. This energy waves in different directions reach the surface. The point on the surface nearest to the focus is called epicenter. It is the point directly above the focus. Now, this energy waves differ in different directions. First of all, and second of all, the point on the surface nearest to the focus. It is called it is the point directly above the focus. It is known as the epicenter. Now, the point where the focus is there, near the focus, there is one activity is being developed, which is known as the epicenter. The area around the focus is known as the epicenter, which means the energy is being transferred from the epicenter itself. First, we have understood about the hypocenter, which means the energy from where the area from where the energy is being released. It is known as the hypocenter, also known as the focus of the earthquake, first of all. And second of all, the point on the surface. The point on the surface nearest to the focus is known as the epicenter, from where the energy is being spreading. So it is directly above the focus itself. The epicenter is directly above the focus itself. I hope so this is clear. Now, here we will be understanding different kinds of earthquake waves. Now, what are the different kinds of earthquake waves? First come, earthquake waves are basically of two types, body waves and surface waves. Body waves are generated due to the release of the energy at the focus and move in all directions traveling through the body of the earth. Hence, the name body waves interact with the surface rocks and generate new set of waves called the surface waves. Now, here we will be understanding about the two types of waves. First comes the body waves and second comes the surface waves. You see, from the focus, when the energy is being released, that energy is being released and is spreaded in all direction. It is being transferred to all direction. This is known as the body waves. Why it is known as the body waves? You see, the body waves is being currently occurring in all directions from the focus itself. This is known as the body waves, and from the body waves, when it is transferring through, it is known as the surface waves. Slowly, there is the occurrence of the surface waves, which is known as the new generation of the set of waves. First, the body waves will be coming. When the new set of waves are also coming, these are known as the surface waves. You see, first, the release of the energy from the fault, there will be the release of the energy from the focus, there will be release of the energy, and those energy will be traveling in all direction. Those energy will be traveling in all directions. This is known as the body waves. And when there is the generation of the new set of the waves, these are known as the surface waves. So this is the definition of the body waves and the surface waves, and now we will be understanding about the velocity of the waves changes as they travel through materials with different densities. The denser the material, the higher is the velocity. Now here comes the velocity of the waves. You see, the velocity of the wave changes when it transfers through different materials. Through the help of the different materials only, the velocity of the wave actually changes, first of all. And second of all, the denser the material, the higher is the velocity. The denser, which means the thickness of the material, the higher will be the velocity, which means the velocity of the material depends on the thickness of the material or the density of the material. This comes the velocity of the waves. There are two types of body waves. They are called P waves and S waves. P waves move faster and are first to arrive at the surface. These are called primary waves. The P waves are similar to sound waves. Now we will be understanding about the two types of body waves. Now what are the two types of body waves? First comes the primary waves and second comes the surface waves. And second comes the secondary waves. I'm so sorry. First comes the primary waves and second comes the secondary waves. Now if I talk about the primary waves are the first one to occur. Those waves which come first, which comes in the beginning, are known to be as the primary waves. Now primary waves are similar to the sound waves. Very important. Now primary waves are actually similar to the sound waves. They travel through gaseous, liquid and solid material. Now primary wave, if I talk about the primary wave, they can travel through anything. They can travel through any kinds of liquid, gases or solid materials. These are known as the primary waves, which means the beginning of the waves are known as the primary waves. For example, there is lightning is there, the thunder. The thunder is an example of the primary waves because it can travel through anything, and those primary waves are similar to the sound waves. Now, secondary waves arrive at the surface after a time lag. These are called secondary waves. S waves, on the other hand, can travel through solid materials. Now, if I talk about the secondary waves arrive at the surface after a time lag, which means after a long time, the secondary waves will actually occur, first of all. And second of all, these are also called secondary waves. Why they are called secondary waves? Because they will be coming after some time, after a time lag only they will be occurring, and they can travel only through solid materials. Now if I talk about the secondary waves, they will be occurring only through the solid materials. You see, if I talk about the primary waves, they will be traveling through liquids, they will be traveling through gases, they will be traveling through solid materials. But if I talk about the secondary waves, they will be traveling only through the solid materials. I hope so this is understood regarding the primary waves and the secondary waves, and also we have understood about the body waves and the surface waves. Today we have understood about the direct sources and the indirect sources, and also about the occurrences of the earthquake. So if you want to know any of the courses regarding our institute, then you can contact us in this number on the screen, 8638391721, and thank you for watching my video.